What is up, guys? In this video we are going to use the TMR DIY Alignment Tool here on the YJ. This thing's way out of alignment, and for our wheeling trip tomorrow we're gonna get it dialed back in. Oh. So like I said, we're getting ready to do some snow wheeling tomorrow, and that is gonna involve us driving up to, well, see where all those dark clouds are? So we're looking for some snow. Got to drive on the highway to get up in there, and I know the Wrangler is out of alignment. It's pretty obvious. Just by looking at the tires, you can tell. So check this out, I'll show you. When I first pulled the YJ into the garage, it was really obvious to me just by the dust. There was a bunch of sawdust on the tire that came off the floor, and you could tell the alignment is way off just by looking at that. Really, if you look at it from the front anyways, you can kind of tell I have a lot of positive camber. So both sides, the top of the tires leaning out a little bit. A lot of vehicles from the 80s, early 90s had this kind of built into the axles. When it's a stock size tire, you don't really see it, you don't notice it, but the bigger that tire gets, the more obvious it is. And on a 38, it's very obvious. So I'll show you just with the markings on the tire right now, you can kind of see how far off it is. If you look closely, you can see there's this mark right here. See how this side of the tire is all clean, and then like this, you can see there's some dust and moving around on the concrete. Now look at the outside of the tire. That same mark goes all the way out here. So instead of this kind of light gray colored being centered off of here, equal distance on both sides, it's leaning this way a little bit because the whole tire is leaning out. You can kind of see it on this side too. But one of the biggest issues for me is I can just feel it wearing incorrectly, like it's kind of feathered out a little bit. This is something that's going to be really hard to capture on camera. But if you look between these lugs right here, you can see this one is just slightly higher than right here. It is feathering, and I think most of that is due to either toe in or toe out problem. I'm going to take these wheels off. We're going to get the TMR DIY kit out. We're going to try getting this thing aligned. All right, so here they are. Never used them. These actually aren't mine. These are Frankie's, and he said I could borrow them because he's not ready to use them on the 4Runner yet. You can see it takes a bunch of different bolt patterns. This is the same bolt pattern as a Toyota because it's got 6 on 5.5. So pretty confident that these are gonna fit. What we're gonna do is throw those on like they're the wheel, right? We're gonna get it as level as we can, both sides. We're gonna get it as straight as we can, and then we have 2 of the exact same tape measure, so we're just gonna minimize any discrepancies. Yeah, I actually bought these tape measures for this, just so I could have 2 that were the same company, you know, just in case something was a little bit off. I've seen that happen before. So at first I didn't know if it was actually going to clear the leaf springs in the diff because it's got to go under them, but it actually did. I used this digital level right here. It was pretty easy. This thing's like, was able to get it all the way at 0. Got the tape measures going, and actually the tape on the other side's going to the outside edge, so I decided to do the same thing over here. We're at 66 and 13/16. If we had 0 toe in, we were just neutral, this one would be at 66 and 13/16 also, but I can tell right now we're already over 67. So if we look at this one, outside edge, so we are off by quite a bit. Loosen up the tie rod, and I'm gonna go toe out a bit because we've got a ton, and we only need like a 16th to an 1/8. I mean, it drives fine how it is right now, but it is starting to affect my tire, so let's get it switched up. I'm trying not to take this too seriously, but I just like accidentally got it nailed on 0. So check out the outside edge again. We're at 67, just a hair over. And then over here, we're the same way. I'm just gonna very carefully try to get us somewhere between a 16th and an 1/8 toe in, and then we'll tighten up the tie rod. That should be about it. All right, so there we are. This one's right at 67, and this one is at 67 and an 1/8. So is this an exact measurement? Definitely not. There's a lot of room for error in this. Definitely better than what I had. I was way off before this, and like I said, it didn't really manifest itself on the road at all, especially not on the trail, but it's always better to get everything as straight as possible or as in spec as possible. That way your tires are going to last longer. All right, so one of the key reasons why you need opposite facing jam nuts and tie rod ends on your tie rod, so you can just spin it like I did to move it in and out. If you put the same thread on both ends, you'd have to take the tie rod end off, which would be horrible. One thing I wanted to be crystal clear on is the camber, the positive camber that I'm looking into. That is not something you can fix with the alignment tool. The alignment tool is strictly for toe in, toe out. To fix this positive camber issue, what I actually need is a new ball joint or an angled ball joint if I decide to go that route. Who knows, maybe I'll just keep it like this. We'll see how everything wears. If the 1/8 inch toe in is not enough, and the Wrangler starts to wander a little bit on the road, then I might consider tightening that back up, pulling it in a little bit more. But one thing to keep in mind is if you mess up your alignment, that is one thing that could start leading into death wobble. There's a lot of things that contribute to it, but make sure you're not changing a million things at once, because if you change a bunch of things and then you start driving down the road and you have death wobble, it's really hard to narrow it down to what it was that caused that. So alignment can sometimes do that too. Anyways, we've got about a 2-hour drive on the highway tomorrow, so hope it goes good. I will let you guys know how it went. Overall, the kit is super easy to use. I would definitely recommend it. If Frankie didn't already buy one, I would buy one too. It's super easy. If you want to look at any of the tools we used in this video or the product itself, just look down in the description. I'll put the links to everything. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. See ya in the next one.